Hello and welcome to Open Hybrid. I'm Rina Valentin, your hosty Café con Leche for the next hour, coming to you from, like I said, hybrid situation here, BronxNet Studios and virtual Chari Executive Suite. And of course, we're inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow moi on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rina Valentin. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and our next guests are here to help share real stories of breast cancer survivorship. They are part of a woman led team who created a movement known as Reclaim October with a mission to educate folks on what they have endured as part of a breast cancer survivor community. Please welcome Squad Captain of Reclaim October, Michelle Jones, and team member Mila Knight. Hello and welcome, ladies.
Hello, Rhina. Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for being here with us. And I want to, of course, just share with our viewers what exactly Reclaim October stands for. I know that you have, I think, what is called a hip hop hour. Reclaim October. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. And Michelle, since you are the squad captain, you can elaborate further because there's so many factors to this that I want to make sure our viewers understand what Reclaim October stands for.
Absolutely. So the Instagram account that we're all based in, so this is an Instagram-based community where we're raising funds for various charities, nonprofits that are focused on breast cancer action and impact this month. This Instagram account is Hip Hop Happy Hour, and that was created by our founders, Trish and Tiff. They created the account during the pandemic to bring anyone impacted by breast cancer together on like Friday evenings. They played music, had talk about anything that was happening, cancer related and non-cancer related. And so the Hip Hop Happy Hour account, Instagram account, is what's driving this. And that's an annual year-round account. And then 3 years ago, so I guess in the midst of the pandemic, Trish was just tired of seeing all of the capitalization on pink and the monetization on stories, on breast cancer survivors, thrivers stories, and going to organizations, major organizations that are related to breast cancer that really aren't impacting the immediate community. And so 3 years ago, they started the Reclaim October campaign and raised, I can't remember how much money they raised the first year, but then last year, Mila and I joined the various Reclaim October teams, and we raised, I think it was around $17,000,
almost
$18,000, just through Instagram, just through survivors, thrivers, previvors coming together and putting out our own stories and sharing our own education and raising money for 4 different nonprofits. And third year, we're back again.
Amazing. That's very impressive. So Mila, how did you find this organization in this community?
Sure. I found this community, this Hip Hop Happy Hour community, when I was just being introduced to Instagram, actually, while I was in the midst of going through active breast cancer treatment during the pandemic. We're all home, have nothing to do. And it's also like a double whammy. You're going through this very impactful disease, and now you're locked down in the pandemic. So there's no escape. And in going through Instagram, I just came across Trisha and Tiff doing an IG live, and they were playing tunes, hip hop records, R&B, having discussions about it. It was light and funny, but then we would talk about things like, chemotherapy and hormone therapy drugs at the same time and make light of it. So that's how I found them, blindly going through Instagram and looking for connection and others who understood what I was going through. And, it's a community whereby cancer is a very heavy subject, but we get to make fun of it, right? Because we're going through it. and I'm all about music and the love of music. And I always often say that I use music as my therapy. So naturally, the two just came together and got me.
Well, I want to acknowledge you for the warrior that you are and
Thank
the
you.
lightness that you're bringing to our viewers, because you can tell you have such a wonderful spirit, and I can sense that this community is one of, like, you know what, we're in this together,
Mhm.
right? So how, I mean, just the way you opened up your discussion with being in a lockdown through the pandemic, which we were already traumatized with that, and then going through treatment simultaneously, and like being in this place of solitude, right?
Mhm.
Because the hospitals, from what I understand, during that time were prioritizing COVID.
Yes. Yes,
So
they
with
were
that,
it was pretty scary. For me, I was at the last stage of active treatment where I was waiting for my breast reconstruction surgery. So right at the point where I was getting ready for my reconstruction, COVID hit. So my reconstruction was delayed a year and a half. So that took a toll on me because it felt as though it just extended my cancer treatment when I thought, oh, I would be done. But I can't imagine for those who were in the throes of it, going through chemotherapy, things like chemotherapy, radiation, mastectomies, and not being able to, probably one, get the treatment that they need because it had to be postponed, or getting the treatment they need but not being able to bring a loved one in. And that makes all the difference in the world. So it was pretty tough.
yeah, and so then you found this group, this lovely hip hop happy hour, Reclaim October, right? That you were able to at least share in conversation, and that leads me to you, Michelle, being a squad captain, and what does that look like to be a squad captain? What exactly does that even mean?
That's a great question, Rena. So I joke that I'm like the middle manager. So Trish and Tiff, it's, with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which we like to say Breast Cancer Action Month. They're so involved in the community. We have multiple organizations that are doing galas and balls and raising money. And so they're pulled in a lot of different directions, being pretty big community leaders outside of what they even created with Hip Hop Happy Hour. And so I think Mila and I worked, it was our first time meeting each other last year. We worked together on one of the weeks. And so it was
What does that mean?
lovely.
Together on one of the weeks, like, just because we're not familiar with it, so
Oh,
talk
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
what are the
Yeah.
weeks?
So,
Yeah.
so how we've broken down the campaign is it's 4 separate weeks,
Mhm.
4 weeks of the month, obviously. And each week has a different focus. So the focuses are around, so one week would be body. So anything related to your body, beauty, community, and then our stories. And so that's what Mila and I worked on last year, was our stories. So sharing, the real stories, not the pretty pink stories, but the real stories of
Yep.
various perspectives. So from me, from a provider stance perspective, from men that had lost loved ones
Okay,
or have a
one
high
second.
risk. Yep.
Pause 1 second before we move forward. Provider. Let's just
Yes.
share with our viewers that term, provider.
Yes. So Provider was the first, same with Mila. When I found out I'm the BRCA2 positive, so the BRCA gene mutation that puts you at a high risk for various cancers, breast cancer being kind of the highest risk, ovarian cancer, colon cancer, I think, or that might have been just a family risk anyways, pancreatic cancer, skin cancer. And so I found out I had this genetic mutation at the start of the pandemic. So similar to Mia, very different experience, where I had to wait until services opened up to public to do some baseline testing, then meet with a breast surgeon, and my plastic surgeon and got all of that scheduled. So I had a high risk of cancer, and there's various options for someone like me that's a provider that you don't have to do surgery. I opted for a prophylactic double mastectomy and with immediate reconstruction. Some choose not to go that route and will go on hormone blocking medication and have to do biannual scans. And so there's various factors, but also similar to Mila, my mastectomy was scheduled February 2021, and I was in the hospital for 5 days. My reconstruction was it was not just implants, it was major body reconstruction. And I couldn't have family members. My family dropped me off at the hospital doors, and I had to wave goodbye as I walked in, and was in hospital alone for 5 days after that major reconstruction. So, and no follow-up, no one could come in for follow-up appointments, pre-appointments, pre-surgical appointments. So the pandemic, and I know I have friends that found out they had cancer and they couldn't bring a loved one into that appointment. So they were by themselves finding out that they had cancer. So the pandemic really, for those that went through the screenings and went through the treatment, we were alone. But then the pandemic's also pushed away people getting treatments and getting their screenings. So there's also that concern of people that might get later stage diagnosis.
Right.
That's pre-Viver. It's the high risk of the genetic mutation with a high risk of various cancers.
I appreciate you breaking it down so like distinctly, right? Because you made a decision, and you made a decision based on a diagnosis, and it sounds like you all have done like extensive research, right? Which I think is important to be in a certain environment so that you understand what those options are and what is available, right? So we're running out of time, and I didn't mean to interrupt you while you were breaking down all of the different sectors within that month. But before we go, if you want to just complete them, we have to do it as succinct as possible because we are out of time.
Okay. You want me to just run through it real quick from the start? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the month is broken down into 4 different weeks, and each week has a specific theme. So body, community, beauty, and then our stories telling different perspectives from various people affected by and impacted by breast cancer, from survivors, thrivers, pre-vivers, caregivers. And so again, it's all on Instagram through the Hip Hop Happy Hour Instagram. And we're raising money. Each week has a different charity as well, always ending with MetaViver, which raises money for stage 4 breast cancer research. And there's also a GoFundMe that we have. If you're not on Instagram, there's a GoFundMe you can go to. You can just search Reclaim October and it should pop right up.
Thank you, Michelle Jones and Mila Knight, squad captain and member of Reclaim October. For more information, you can follow them on Instagram at Hip Hop Happy Hour. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about the many interactive dance programs at Paso Negro and their mission for Diasporola cultural expression. Don't go anywhere.